Most people in this country are one emergency away from financial disaster, one unexpected car repair, one hospital bill, one lost job, and suddenly everything falls apart. And here's the crazy part. It's not because people aren't working hard enough. Americans are working harder than ever. Multiple jobs, side hustles, 60-hour weeks. People are grinding themselves into ground and still ending up broke at the end of the month, wondering where all the money went. So what's actually going on? I spent months digging into the research, talking to financial experts, and looking at the data. And what I found was both shocking and kind of relieving at the same time. Because the reason most people stay broke has almost nothing to do with how much they earn. It has everything to do with a handful of very specific mistakes that almost nobody talks about. Mistakes that are so deeply woven into everyday life that most people don't even realize they're making them. And I'm not talking about the obvious stuff like stop buying coffee or don't eat out so much. That advice is tired, it's lazy, and honestly, it misses the entire point. I'm talking about deep, structural mistakes, the kind that drain your wealth slowly, quietly, over years, until one day you wake up at 50 years old with nothing to bank and no idea how it happened. If any part of what I just said resonates with you, keep watching, because by the end of this video, you are going to see your finances completely differently. And more importantly, you're going to know exactly what to stop doing. Let's get into it. The first mistake is living on a delayed budget, or worse, no budget at all. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, I know I need a budget, hear me out, because this goes way deeper than just tracking your spending. The real problem isn't that people don't know budgets exist. The real problem is that most people treat budgeting as something they'll get serious about later, after the holidays, after this one big expense, after things settle down, and later never comes. Meanwhile, money is leaking out of their accounts in dozens of small, invisible ways. Here's what the research actually shows. Studies have found that people who don't follow a structured spending plan consistently overestimate how much they save and underestimate how much they spend, sometimes by as much as 40%. That means if you think you're spending around $3,000 a month, you might actually be spending closer to $4,000. That's $12,000 a year vanishing into thin air. But here's the part that really gets people. Most budgeting advice tells you to track what you've already spent. That's reactive. You're looking at damage that's already done. The most financially successful people do the opposite. They tell their money where to go before the month even starts. It's called a zero-based budget, and the concept is simple. Every single dollar gets assigned a job. Rent, groceries, savings, fun money, everything. So when a month begins, you're not guessing. You're executing a plan. The shift in mindset here is enormous. You stop being a passenger in your own financial life and start being the driver. And that one change alone has helped people find hundreds of dollars a month they didn't even know they were losing. The second mistake, and this one is going to sting a little, is trying to look wealthy instead of actually becoming wealthy. We live in the most visually competitive society in human history. Social media has turned every aspect of our lives into a performance. And that pressure to appear successful, to have a nice car, the designer clothes, the luxury vacations, the new phone every year, is absolutely destroying people's finances. There's a term economists use called lifestyle inflation. It means that as your income rises, your spending rises right along with it. You get a raise, so you get a nicer apartment. You land a better job, so you upgrade your car. And suddenly, despite making more money than ever, you're saving the exact same amount, which is close to nothing. The data on this is brutal. According to multiple surveys, nearly 60% of Americans who earn six-figure income still live paycheck to paycheck. Six figures. We're talking about people making over $100,000 a year who have almost nothing saved. And a huge reason why is this constant, relentless pressure to perform a version of success rather than actually build it. Here's the truth that wealthy people understand and broke people don't. Real wealth is invisible. The person driving the 10-year-old Honda Civic might have $800,000 in investments. The person in the brand new BMW might be financing on a salary that can't actually support the payments. You can't see wealth. You can only see spending. And spending is not wealth. The antidote to this is brutally simple but socially incredibly hard. Stop caring what your purchases look like to other people. Start asking yourself one question before every major purchase. Does this move me closer to financial freedom or further away? That's it. Just that one question. And if you ask it honestly every single time, it will change your financial life. Mistake number 3 is one of the most expensive mistakes in modern America, and almost nobody frames it this way. It is a complete failure to understand and leverage compound interest, both as a tool and as a weapon being used against you. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. You probably heard that quote. But what most people don't hear is the second half of that idea, which is this. Compound interest is a weapon of incredible power, and right now, for most Americans, it's pointed directly at them. Let's talk about debt first. The average American household carries around $6,000 in credit card debt at an average interest rate of around 20%, which is actually on the low end now that rates have climbed. That debt costs you over $1,000 a year in interest alone, just to stand still. And because of how compound interest works, if you're only making minimum payments, you could be paying off that debt for decades, literal decades, while paying back 2 or 3 times what you originally borrowed. But flip it around and compound interest becomes your greatest ally. If you invest just $300 a month starting at age 25 at an average annual return of 8%, which is historically conservative for a diversified index fund, by the time you're 65, you'll have over $1 million. From $300 a month, the money isn't doing the heavy lifting. Time is. And here's why this is such a devastating mistake. Every year you wait costs you exponentially more. Not linearly, exponentially. Waiting just 5 years to start investing can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in final wealth. This is why financial advisors say the best time to start investing was yesterday. And the second best time is right now. Not when you're out of debt. Not when you have more money. Right now, even if it's $50 a month. Because the clock is always running and compound interest doesn't care about your excuses. The 4th mistake is something I call the income illusion, and it's the reason why so many people with decent salaries are still completely financially stuck. The income illusion is the belief that the path to wealth is simply earning more money. More income equals more wealth, right? Wrong. Tragically, embarrassingly wrong. And the data proves it. Here's a statistic that should shake you to your core. A significant number of lottery winners, people who suddenly receive millions of dollars, end up broke within 5 years. Not because the money disappeared, but because their financial habits, their mindset, their relationship with money never changed. They just had more dollars flowing through the same broken system. The same principle applies to your salary. If you have a spending problem, a saving problem, or an investing problem, a raise won't fix it. It'll just raise the stakes. You'll find bigger ways to spend, more expensive habits to develop, higher levels of lifestyle to inflate into, and you'll end up in exactly the same position, just with nicer stuff surrounding you. The real equation of wealth is not income minus expenses equals savings. It's income minus savings equals expenses. Read that again. Pay yourself first. Automate a savings contribution and an investment contribution at the beginning of every month before you pay anything else. Before rent, before groceries, before Netflix. Because if you wait to see what's left over at the end of the month to save, here's what will happen. Nothing will be left over. Every single time, the money will find somewhere to go. It always does. Wealth is not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep. And more importantly, how much you put to work. Mistake number 5 is avoiding financial education because it feels overwhelming, boring, or like something meant for rich people. This one is deeply personal for a lot of people, and I want to approach it with some real care. Because the truth is, most of us were never taught how money works. Not in school. Often not at home either. The American education system spends years teaching us algebra and the history of ancient civilizations, but never once sits us down and explains how credit scores work, what an index fund is, how taxes function, or why a mortgage is both an asset and a liability at the same time. So when people feel lost about money, it's not because they're stupid. It's because they were never given the map. And that absence of knowledge is costing people enormously. Research shows that financial literacy directly correlates with wealth accumulation. People who understand basic financial concepts, compound interest, diversification, inflation, tax advantage accounts, consistently end up wealthier than people who don't, regardless of income level. Knowledge is quite literally money in this case. And here's the good news. You don't need a finance degree to understand this stuff. You don't need to read 1,000 books or take an expensive course. You need to commit to learning one thing per week. One concept, one video, one chapter of one book. Titles like The Total Money Makeover, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, or The Psychology of Money have helped millions of ordinary people radically transform their finances. They're readable, they're practical, and the ROI on that kind of education is genuinely infinite. The most expensive financial education isn't the kind you pay for. It's the kind you avoid and pay for in the form of debt, missed opportunities, and decades of financial stress. And the sixth mistake, the one that quietly underpins all the others, is having no clear financial goal and no written plan to get there. This might sound soft, like motivational poster advice, but I want you to stick with me here, because the psychology behind this is rock solid and the financial impact is enormous. Here's what happens in the absence of goal. You make financial decisions based on emotion, impulse, social pressure, and habit. You buy things because you're bored, stressed, or because your friend just got one. You avoid saving because it doesn't feel urgent. You don't invest because you're not sure exactly where to put the money. Everything feels vague and distant. And vague and distant never gets done. But when you have a specific written financial goal, I want to have $20,000 saved by December of next year. I want to be completely debt-free in 36 months. I want to retire at 55 with $2 million. Something psychological shifts. Your brain starts filtering decisions through that goal. A purchase that would have been automatic before suddenly feels different when you ask yourself, does this get me closer to or further from my goal? Studies on goal setting consistently show that people who write down their goals are significantly more likely to achieve them than people who keep their goals vague or in their heads. In the financial world, this translates directly into better savings rates, lower debt levels, and greater long-term wealth. The plan doesn't need to be complex. It needs to be clear. Write down where you are right now. Your income, your debt, your savings. Write down where you want to be and by when. Then reverse engineer the steps between those 2 points. What do you need to cut? What do you need to start? What number needs to go up and what number needs to go down? Put it on paper. Look at it every week. Adjust as life changes. But never let it disappear into the back of your mind where intentions go to die. So let's bring this home. 6 mistakes. Living without a real budget. Performing wealth instead of building it. Misunderstanding compound interest. Believing income alone is the solution. Avoiding financial education. And drifting without a clear goal or plan. None of these mistakes require a high income to fix. None of them require a finance degree, a wealthy family, or perfect circumstances. They require awareness, and they require decision. The decision to stop doing what isn't working. Even when it's comfortable. Even when it's familiar. Even when everyone around you is doing the same thing. Because here's the hardest truth of all. The financial system we live in is not designed to make you wealthy. It's designed to keep you spending. The ads, the credit offers, the buy now pay later schemes, the social media highlight reels. All of it is engineered to pull money away from you and towards someone else. And if you're not actively, intentionally fighting back against that system with knowledge and discipline, you are losing. Quietly, slowly, but surely. The good news, and there is genuinely great news here, is that awareness is the most powerful first step. The moment you can see a mistake clearly is the moment you have the power to stop making it. And once you stop making these 6 mistakes, the trajectory of your financial life doesn't just improve, it transforms. You've already taken the first step just by watching this far. Don't stop here.